Committee newspaper review on High Impact 102.1 FM. I am Sarah Oswanta. I trust the week has been great so far, and I trust you had a restful night. I got Esther here with me this morning. Good morning, Esther.
Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning to all our listeners and even those watching us on YouTube this morning. It's the newspaper review once again, and I mean, the papers are full, I have to say.
They are indeed. But if there's one thing that a lot of people are excited to know, especially those that, let's say those that work the 8 to 5 or the 9 to 5 system, is the fact that the federal government has declared Friday, the 7th of April, and Monday, the 10th of April 2023 as public holidays to celebrate and to mark this year's Easter celebrations. This statement was given by the Minister of the Interior in person of Rauf Aregbesola. And just so you know, Friday, the 7th of April and Monday, the 10th of April has been declared public holidays to mark this year's Easter celebration. And Osun State has done something. Osun State has offered free train ride.
Wow.
Yes, Osun offers free train ride to celebrate this for people that want to travel.
Yeah, that's encouraging. That's to say that if you didn't plan to travel, well, there's no reason not to travel anymore.
But there's a clause.
Okay.
Now, apparently, the free train ride is for Osun indigents who are resident in Lagos and other southwest states who want to celebrate their families in Osun State. So,
well, if I show up with an Osun State friend and I say I'm from Osun State and I'm able to prove that I'm from Osun State, can they reject me?
Well,
they can't. But I think that yes, it's a season to love. It's a season to meet your loved ones, travel. So the Osun State government trying to make sure people travel is beautiful. But when they are talking about public holidays, they are not talking to you and I, Sarah.
Of course, no. There are some persons who don't, just like health workers, essential workers essential workers, and a lot of people fall under this. So we have to give you, when you're at home enjoying the holidays, we have to bring you up to speed and let you know what's going on around you.
Very, very true. We'll be looking at the Punch newspaper, the top stories for this morning on the Punch newspaper, The Guardian, The Vanguard, The Daily Trust newspaper, and what other paper have I not mentioned?
Vanguard.
The Vanguard newspaper. All four papers this morning. There are various stories across these papers. Do well to let us know your top story when the phone lines are opened. The phone line, rather, when it is opened. But you can send us WhatsApp messages. You can tweet at us. And you can send us messages as well, because we're streaming live on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM, on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll get into the conversation for today. Do stay with us.
Are you looking for an avenue to blast your brand? Why not let us be your detonator at High Impact Radio 102.1 FM with Got You Covered. For advert placement, sponsorship, partnership, call us on 0706 393 5694 0915 958 1881 0902 745 3931 or send an email to info@highimpactstudio.com.
Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:05 a.m. to 8 a.m. for freshly baked stories on the newspaper review at High Impact 102.1 FM. Follow us on social media at High Impact 102.1 FM or call 0700 1021 1021. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5018. High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned. You're still listening to Newspaper Review on High Impact 102.1 FM. Esther and I are still here, and right now the phone line is open. Why are we saying lines? The phone line is open. Do well to call us and let us know your top story for today. 0700 1021 1021 is the number to call. I take that again. 0700 1021 1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907 224-5018. We're streaming live on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM and on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM. Now, let's delve straight into the dailies. Interesting headlines this morning.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But let's begin with the Punch newspaper. We have a major story that says new House leadership. Opposition reps elect plots to upstage APC. Opposition reps elect plots to upstage APC. And the writer says opposition rep elect meets form greater majority bloc to tackle APC. Group warns members against APC infiltration, targets key House positions. Be warned, 2015 Saraki Dogara actions won't be allowed, APC tells reps elect. You know, you think that with the fact that the elections have been conducted and all that, would see some sort of calm and quiet on the political scene. But trust me, Esther, even since the 18th of March that we had the Guba polls,
Yeah.
a lot of things have been going on in the political space, on the political scene. Now, this has to do with the House leadership, and they, according to reports, there are plans to ensure that. Now, according to reports, members of the House of Representatives elect from the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, and some other opposition parties seem to have come together to form a kind of alliance,
Yeah.
ahead of the inauguration of the 10th National Assembly. And the aim of this particular alliance is to determine who would be the leader or the leadership of the parliament, according to reports, against the background of the moves by the APC to zone the House leadership. Now, these opposition lawmakers, which consist of the PDP, the Labour Party, as well as other political parties, insisted that they have the numbers to override APC's plan and do whatever they want. Now, it seems like a coalition, a force has come together against one party.
Okay.
And this was the according to reports. Now, these lawmakers met in Abuja. Today's Thursday. Okay, they met in Abuja on Tuesday, because I got a brief update in regards to that. And since then, there's been different strategies. They've been coming up with different plans to ensure that they do not, or their moves or their intention is achieved, so that they overrule the supposed plan, according to them, of the All Progressives Congress.
Well, let's see how it goes. Really, it feels like for politics, the concept of giving up is not popular. If you give up, it means that you're not ready for this game. And in fact, your opposition can even use that as a tool against you to say, we'll wear you out, we'll tire you out. We know that you would. So the only thing that is going to help, or the only thing that is going to, that is going to discourage these politicians is the rule of law, the judiciary. If the judiciary is not functioning, if there was no avenue for them to air their grievances, they might not be able to. But thankfully, we are in a place where people that are aggrieved politicians have an avenue to speak up. Because if it's in an environment or a society where they cannot speak up, it means we are already heading for dictatorship. So it's good enough to see these healthy conversations, but let it remain healthy.
That's what I just wanted to say. Let us stick with the fact that it has to be healthy. Let's not take things out of hand and blow things out of proportion. But that's it on that story. You get more details on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Just above that, federal government borrows $800 million for mass transit and cash transfers. You get details on page 19. In business news, fresh promissory notes raising national debt. That's according to the Debt Management Office. You also get that on page 19. Ekwere Madu, Obasanjo begs United Kingdom Court for leniency. Obasanjo begs United Kingdom Court for leniency in regards to the Ekwere Madu and his wife's case. That's a page 12 read on the Punch newspaper. On the lower part of the paper, before that, we see a picture of pupils on school buses. Now, these school buses are actually trucks. This is a truck, on the Long Bridge axis of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Now, this is what is conveying these students.
Hey, Sarah, my heart is beating.
And the fact that they are standing and just holding on to the barricade on the
That's
the truck.
a child yawning there.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
This is a truck. See how, if you have a copy of the Punch newspaper, you'll see the image of these children. There's a particular truck that doesn't even have a barricade, and
Oh my
these children
God.
are standing in the truck as a means of transportation just to get back to their house. This calls for concern. This is something that the federal government, the Ministry of Education, and every party concerned should look into. It is dangerous on the Long Bridge having children
standing on an
standing-
open truck.
yes, as a means of
And this
transportation.
truck is full.
They are loaded in the truck. This should be attended to
From the
as soon as-
parents to the teachers, the instructors, even the drivers carrying them. Everyone needs to, there needs to be like a check in everybody's. Like,
everyone.
frankly speaking, do you think this is okay?
It is far from okay. It is unacceptable. And these are minors. If looking at the picture, they are very young children. Having to be exposed to this kind of hazard is very worrisome.
Even adults on that truck are exposed to danger. Not to talk of children.
That do not. There's nobody guarding
No
them.
guard. If
There's nobody watching over them. They are just standing on the Long Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The federal government, Ministry of Education, schools, heads of schools, parents, and everyone involved needs to look into this so that we do not have, something should be done about this.
Yes.
We cannot just keep our fingers crossed and say, oh, they probably need a means of transportation. Oh, we cannot afford to transport them appropriately. Something has to
I mean,
be
do they
done.
have to go that far to
If
go
they
to
need
school?
to school within their environment to avoid cases like this. But then that's a picture on the Punch newspaper. Beneath that, Bitcoin platform with 1.5 million Nigerian users shut down. That's on page 20. Okada riders on the Rampage Q Cup and injured DPO at Celeb stop. Get details on pages 4 and 5. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway ready 30th of April. Drainage delays Oyo section. That's according to the federal government. Details on page 20. So for people that apply that route often, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway ready April 30th. Drainage delays Oyo section. That's coming from the federal government.
070010211021. That's the number to call. Let us know your top story for today. 0907-224-5018. That's where you can leave us a WhatsApp message. We're streaming live on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM, on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM. The Guardian newspaper gives us, an insight on what's happening on our seas. Neighbors feed fat on Nigeria's poorly funded, inefficient seaports. That's a big read, and it's on page 6 with 2 riders. Local ports get 2 billion naira budgetary allocations in 8 years. And ports recovering with current reforms, NPA boss says. That's it on that particular report. Above that, we have Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt slowing regional growth, says World Bank. 3 countries slowing regional growth, and that's on business page 16. And that's not good because Nigeria is on that list as well. INEC, an imperative of financial accountability. That's an editorial, and that's on page 12. Really, frankly speaking, Sarah, INEC and money is something that every time people say things like, can't there be a re-election, can't there be a rerun, if everyone is not satisfied with the election, shouldn't the election be conducted all over again? All I think of is the billions behind conducting the elections. Because look, just the news by the side is saying that we're slowing regional growth, and on the other side we're spending. So when I see this, I think it's an important read, editorial page 12. INEC an imperative of financial accountability, because when they talked about how much was used to conduct the election and how much is needed to discuss electoral matters in court, I felt like this is a huge... But I've heard politicians say democracy is not cheap. So if we chose democracy, it means that these are the things that we are going to talk about, and we won't shy away from that.
But shouldn't we do a sort of analysis with other countries that practice democracy?
Mm-hmm.
Or that, let's even start with other African countries that practice democracy and see if this is how expensive it is to run democracy in those climes. And then we can now know, oh yes, Nigeria is not doing anything out of the ordinary. That's how it is in other parts. But if it's not this expensive, we have to understand why it is operating the way it is within our own in our own space.
So I think that a major excuse would be the use of technology, because standard when technology is introduced into a system, things get better.
But we're not the only ones making use of technology.
I understand that, but I'm even saying that as we have introduced beavers for the first time in a general election, it is now a new item. Somebody called on radio and asked if it was Tokumbo. Where last week, when he said Tokumbo, he meant
fairly
if the beavers were fairly used. It was last week we were talking with Dakmo Adaramewa, and he said that let's not throw that question away. That as much as it sounds like this person is asking something, that no, we shouldn't throw that question away, because even with the beavers and with the IREV and with the INEC website, people are still saying that they didn't feel satisfied with the efforts of INEC and that more should be done.
Yes, actually, more should be done, because we should have seen more accountability. We should have seen a situation where these things were properly tested.
I said that to say that it might get even more expensive.
Well, I will still stand my ground. Let us know how much, or let us know how it works in other climes that practice democracy, and then let us now understand why is it too expensive here. Even before the advent of technology in all of these systems, we were actually spending a lot of money, even on the manual ballot papers.
I know
we're spending a whole lot of money. So using technology as okay, this is the reason why there has been an increase, I don't think it's...
No, that's one of the suggestions. That's one of the things I think.
Yeah.
But if we're eliminating ballot boxes, because that's another thing that was a tool for violence.
Did you even see the report that talked about the amount of money that was used to print the papers? It went into trillions.
To print the papers.
Yes, the slip.
But the entire budget is in billions.
So when I saw it, I felt like, okay,
wow,
this is too much
is worth a conversation.
Money. So if we are going to be spending this amount of money to print, to sort out logistics, we need to have a proper... That's why when people say, oh, they need the INEC chairman to do a proper breakdown on how this money was spent, and it has to be accountable. I actually, to a large extent, that way, if there's a sort of credibility, accountability, the minds of people would actually be a little bit relaxed.
Can Nigerians be fully convinced? But well, let's see if this conversation can fit into an episode on record. But that's noted. Beside that story, we have opposition parties plots to produce reps speaker, and that's on page 30 on the Guardian newspaper. Afenifere Igbo leaders tackle Mohammed over treason and Paul's claims. That's on page 6. And that's as much as we can take on the Guardian newspaper. Do well to let us know your top story. 0700 1021 1021. You can call us on that number. If you have a WhatsApp message for us, let us know. 0907 224 5018.
To the Guardian, from the Guardian newspaper to the Daily Trust this morning. On the front page, National Assembly leadership scheming as 16 aspirants push for zoning and open contest. The writer says Southern lawmakers want Senate presidency zoned to region. Allow us to choose our presiding officers. That's coming from Malum Dume. I'm ready to sacrifice my ambition for a Southern Christian. This is from Musa. And the last writer says, no special committee on zoning from the All Progressive. This is from the All Progressive Congress. You get details on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Just above that, selfishness caused APC's defeat in Kano. That's coming from Adamu. That's a page 10 read. NNPC failed to account for 102 billion naira oil delivery to refineries. That's a report you want to read up on page 25. In education news, 1.1 billion naira for each university as President Buhari approves 320 billion naira intervention funds. Get details on page 6. Meanwhile, in health, HIV/AIDS, federal government prohibits discrimination at workplaces. Federal government prohibits discrimination at workplaces. That's a page 25 read. Kogi attacks, 10 people killed, 50 houses razed, according to a witness. This is worrisome. Kogi attacks, 10 people killed, 50 houses razed. That's according to a witness. It seems like every day we come on, there's usually a sort of attack in a different state entirely. Yesterday was Kaduna. 2 days ago, it was in Uniben.
Now,
today, we are hearing Kogi State. You just keep asking yourself, what exactly is going on? The rate of insecurity, the rate of kidnapping, the rate of insurgency. In fact, there's another one on the Punch newspaper that talks about suspected headers killing 3 in fresh Benue attack. That we also got that update this morning. That's also an insecurity issue. But moving on from that story, federal government slams Western nations for funding IPOB. That's on page 25. And lastly, on the Daily Trust newspaper, subsidy removal. Federal government secures $800 million World Bank loan for palliatives. That's on page 6 on the Daily Trust newspaper. What's your top story this morning? 0700 1021 1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907 224 5018.
now we move to the Vanguard newspaper. If you're just joining us, we have started with the Punch newspaper, the Guardian, and the Daily Trust newspaper. It's 7:27. Let's quickly move to the Vanguard newspaper. DMO, that's the Debt Management Office, is telling us why government debt is rising as LCCI and others list ways out. This is on page 5. It would be nice to see how, we can come out of our public debt. The riders start with, as DMO explains why public debt is growing. LCCI advocates equity, financing, other revenue strategies. Higher level of fiscal discipline needed. That's according to Nasima. That's the problems, overspending, not revenue generation. This is coming from Adonri. That's saying the problem is overspending, not revenue generation. The last rider says we need political will to trim size of government. CPPE, trimming the size of government. Away from that, Obasanjo writes UK court pleads for Ekweremadu and wife. The rider says extols Ekweremadu's virtues, hopes he will learn from his travails. And that's on page 9. Away from that, Boko Haram kills pastor, angel wife, and others in Borno State. Sadly, Sarah was just talking about new waves of insecurity back in the news. We are seeing Boko Haram again in Borno State. Beneath that, Easter celebration, federal government declares Friday and Monday public holidays. This is on page 13. Universities, others to get 320.3 billion naira intervention funds. I saw this and I felt like, wow, Asu, this is the prayer you've been praying. But I hope that this money is beyond being used nicely. I hope that it gets into their coffers. I hope that they can use it to change the system. I hope that they can use it to solve problems.
But you know that over time we've heard stories like this. Federal government gives so amounts to
Sarah, this amount is huge
for intervention and all that. And then along the line, give it a few months, you still see ASU, Konwa, SANU, NASU, come up with, we are still being owed salaries, the revitalization of the sector has not come through, this and that. And you ask yourself, but I thought that these monies were released some months back. So I don't know how to react to this, because to me it's something that has been, I want to be positive about it. I want to believe that this would help make the education system better.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't have expectations.
Well, let's hope to hear from ASU. In fact, maybe they should even come out and say
ASU has not even said anything.
they
in a
haven't.
very
Well,
long time.
it might not get to them. It might get to the Universities Commission, and before it gets to them. But second Niger Bridge opens to traffic next month. This is according to the federal government. Wow, happy. So that's good news. Peter Obi describes leaked audio as fake. Goes to court. That's on page 26, and that's basically how we started our week. The weekend and started with that, and then we got into Monday morning. NCC made a statement yesterday and said no, they don't do that. They don't monitor people's calls. And today Peter Obi is describing that audio as fake and goes to court.
And he even went on to say he's under pressure to go on exile.
Yeah. That's also another news I saw yesterday, that he's under pressure to leave. But the way the polity is heated right now, I think that I'm going to leave that conversation for another day. Petroleum subsidy, to be specific. Federal government secures $800 million World Bank fund for palliatives. Sarah, page 27, Vanguard newspaper. Yeah. The subsidy that is supposed to be removed, the federal government has secured $800 million World Bank fund for palliatives. That's on page 27 on the Vanguard newspaper. But do well to let us know your top story, 0700-1021-1021. Beside that, there's something about politics saying those questioning legitimacy of Tinubu's victory are sore losers. This is according to the All Progressives Congress. And the only writer says Soyinka flays Dati for threatening judiciary on TV. That is also a major story. World Bank, Nigeria's economic growth insufficient to reduce extreme poverty. This particular story apparently brought a lot of reactions, talking about Nigeria's extreme poverty. Let's see how much more we can take before we call it a wrap. Something about sports. Hodu urges Chelsea to sign Osimhen. And lastly, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, court stops Abure and others from parading as Labour Party ESCO. But that's as much as we have on the Vanguard newspaper, except that Mr. and Mrs. are right in our faces.
I can see Mrs. like she's trying to get her makeup done or something.
Oh my God, is the expression for me. It starts with, I think Mr. is talking. It says, why she left him remains a mystery. I saw one of the love poems he wrote for her. He ended it with, my love for you is electrifying. Oh, that's Mr. talking. Yeah. Mrs. responded, that was his mistake. If you mention electricity in this country, what readily comes to mind is NEPA.
Bam.
Guys, did you hear that?
Bam.
When you're trying to talk love with your partner,
don't
don't
say
use electricity,
electrifying.
according to Mr. and Mrs. on the Vanguard newspaper.
Please, so that she wouldn't do what Mr. is talking about, so that she
Oh my
wouldn't leave
goodness.
you. Use other nice words.
Yes, like what? My love for you is like what? Flowing stream.
Streams
At
of
least
water.
Like the water in the ocean or something.
The flower that blooms.
Yeah, but just try your best not to use
Esther
electricity.
and I are giving you
Lines.
some love lines
Yes,
this morning.
yes.
You don't know what you are in for today.
But we're due for a break. That's as much as we can take on the Vanguard newspaper. Let us know your top story. You can send us a WhatsApp message 0907-224-5018. When we come back, the newspaper review continues. To stay with us.
Madam, let me have my food, please.
Oh boy, now
Hello. Excuse me. Come and buy what we are selling, For food only canteen FFO is now open every weekday. Yes, We sell off-white rice with tomato sauce, big jollof rice, off-cream fried rice, low budget ewagoy and bread, plus daily jara of special delicacies. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. only on High Impact 102.1 FM. FFO Canteen. With Trenches Food, we stand.
Case dismissed.
About this food should not be small.
Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:05 a.m. to 8 a.m. for freshly baked stories on the newspaper review at High Impact 102.1 FM. Follow us on social media at High Impact 102.1 FM or call 0700 1021 1021. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5018. High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
Let's bring the party to you in your comfort zone. Food, drinks, music, and all kinds of fun fare are now available for fun lovers on Aria Express. Every Saturday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. only on High Impact 102.1 FM.
Well, this Saturday, they will not be sure.
Me, I am ready for the party. Oh yeah, I want all this march. I go really early. Oh, I know your story.
Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:05 a.m. to 8 a.m. for freshly baked stories on the newspaper review at High Impact 102.1 FM. Follow us on social media at High Impact 102.1 FM or call 0700 1021 1021. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5018. High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
Welcome back. You're still listening to Newspaper Review on High Impact 102.1 FM, and the phone lines are still open. Do well to call us and let us know your top story for today. Which headline would you like to contribute to? 0700 1021 1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907 224 5018. We're also streaming live on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM and on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM. Now let's take a look at some of these headlines. You know, there's been this conversation about the president-elect cannot be sworn in, or this issue, that issue has to be addressed amongst a number of things. But now, Senior Advocate of Nigeria has come out to say that no court can grant injunction stopping the president-elect inauguration. This is according to the Punch newspaper. No court can grant injunction stopping president-elect inauguration. And he also said that those calling for an interim government do not really understand what it means, that there can't be any talk of reform outside of the constitutional framework, you know, that would not amount to some level of coup d'etat. And the constitution has provided for a change of government, and that can only be done through elections. And now that an election has taken place, a winner has been declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Some candidates have gone to court.
Yeah.
But to justify that what we need is an interim government on the grounds of constitutional reforms is not acceptable at all. So, you know, there's this thing about interim government. I think people do not really understand the perks that comes with this. Now, it would have been different if we did not have an election. It would have been different if a winner was not declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission. But this has taken a process. This has gone through a process. So calling for an interim government cannot come through in cases like this.
You know, when I think of this matter, I remember what the military said recently, and that's one of the major topics on record this morning when they come on air, talking about that's the military coming out to say that they have vowed that they would not allow anything that is going to truncate democracy. You know, history is a good teacher. Maybe we should go back and find out, because when you talked about pecs, the pecs of democracy is such that you and I can sit on radio and discuss the actions, inactions of government. And people can call in and tell us that they are not happy with what Emefiele is doing. You know, they can call the governor by name on radio, and, you know, they can say what they want to say, and they don't understand that, you know, the fact that you can do all of this vocally, it's a step forward. There was a time that Nigeria wasn't that way. It wasn't that way. You know, a matter of fact, you would have heard your parents say things like, in the past, you won't see a man wear towels, like just towels, and stand on the road for no reason. I had to ask, like, why? Because you have to be busy doing something. You have to be somewhere busy doing something. In fact, another parent had told me of when maybe a piece of dirt drops from your hand, you quickly pick it up. I said, for what? I said they were literally living in fear all those periods.
This period now, people would even with their full chest.
All those periods. And social media did it in such a way that you can even speak directly to these leaders on their handles, message them and tell them, we don't like what you're doing. So most people don't understand that level of freedom has its roots in democracy. Outside democracy, in fact, go to smaller communities where monarchy is practiced and see if you can talk back at a king that is obviously flouting rules, flouting orders, disobeying just regular traditional kings and traditional chiefs who are not even known in far and wide. Just see how they manage power, and you can talk to them. Not to talk of those who are managing power, managing the security agencies.
In fact, we don't understand what this would also stifle our constitutional freedom, because a question needs to be asked: if we are operating an interim government, what law would regulate it, since the constitution will not be applicable to it? You know, would it just become a supreme law-making government if that's the case?
And most people don't understand.
Yeah, and at some point it would eventually slide into anarchy, because there's no law, there's no constitution that binds it. It can become supreme on its own. So when we're making certain comments, I think we need to understand the implications of what we are asking for. When these things come, can we handle it?
You know, that's one thing. That's another thing. Most of us don't understand the different systems of government and how they operate. But on the flip side, Sarah, when grievances, I think it was one of our guests, either I'm not quite certain which of the guests said that. He said, while you're hearing things like this, is because the people's grievances have been unattended. Like, nobody is giving attention to those grievances fully according to how they want it to be resolved. And I think it was a few days ago where we were talking about Agbakoba saying that 7 days
is enough time to resolve all the petitions,
all these grievances, that if these grievances can be resolved promptly, that there won't even be any need for anyone to mention such. Before elections, we really didn't. The popularity of hearing an interim government wasn't quite loud during elections, but after elections, it became something that we now hear in the news casually. So that's one thing that we've heard over and over again. But thankfully, it's a conversation that is coming up at 9 a.m. So you want to stay tuned for that. But Sarah, are you not concerned about our debt situation in Nigeria?
It is very, very worrisome.
There was a breakdown recently. And people saw it on my status, and they were asking that what's the meaning of this breakdown. I think each Nigerian, if we are to pay back our debts according to the statistics we have. Each Nigerian, everyone listening to me, according to that breakdown, will be paying about 271,000. Someone asked me that somebody told me she's not owing. I said, look, I'm not the one that did this analysis, okay? If each person is going to pay for the debts that we are owing, I'm trying to get the exact amount.
Each person will be paying over 200,000.
217,136 naira. Sarah,
Esther
you and every Nigerian. I'm not paying for it. You don't understand. I have to pay for. Okay, let me not put myself.
Or better still, I will just, I sort of have to.
Let me look at Nigeria's debt per citizen hits 217,136 naira amid rising poverty.
I sort of have two routes.
You have to.
I sort of have two routes. So. You understand. I could just.
I get you.
But
I get you. But so you choose one route that day. No, that's the day. That's the day you choose the route.
No, you would pay by the time. No, Esther, Krumale, no. Grace.
As in, people entered my DM and they're like, me, I'm not owing Nigeria. I said, look, 217,136 naira per citizen. When I say per citizen, I'm talking about using the last census. When the new census comes up, maybe it will drop,
because I think our population
would have the 17,000 would have been out. At least we'll be paying about 200.
Okay, you guys will be paying
not we guys. That is. And as much as we're saying this thing and it sounds like a joke, it's not a joke. This is expert analysis.
But it's not going to get to that point where we would have to.
No, we won't pay it. But if every Nigerian citizen has to pay Nigeria's debts, each person, according to analysis, is going to be paying 217,136 naira.
By the time I shared the 270,000 amongst yourself, Grace, Krumale, Afyong, our producer, Bolade, our producer, Dami, our associate producer, we're good.
So everybody will be paying. What are those ones going to be paying?
You know that
260 something. Sarah, let me go to what the DMO has made a statement this morning on the Vanguard newspaper saying why federal government's debt is rising as LCC and others list ways out. I would like everyone listening to kindly read these articles, okay? You never can tell how much difference this information will make when you read them. The Debt Management Office, DMO, yesterday, according to the Vanguard newspaper, attributed Nigeria's growing debt stock to budget deficits, continuous issuance of promissory notes and other borrowings, as well as low revenue generation. And this particular news is aside the news that talked about Nigeria, South Africa, and I think Egypt as the nations that are slowing down regional growth, according to World Bank. And you would think that this is all, until I saw another headline, World Bank, Nigeria's economic growth insufficient to reduce extreme poverty. Sarah.
And they also added that the incoming administration is going to face a number of policy challenges.
Yes.
And they are also calling for income support measures in fight against inflation. I think at this period, we need to channel so much attention into our economy because if we're getting all of these statistics, something is really wrong. And so that we do not get to a point where it is out of control. Some of the issues is our debts, our debt servicing.
Oh my.
It's a lot. And then we also need to start looking at generating funds internally, producing things internally for our own consumption, because the number of things we export, we import
rather
as a country.
But 070010211021, let us know your take this morning, especially on that matter of debts per citizen. A lot of people were telling me they are not. Somebody said he has less than 50,000 naira in his account. So what's going to happen to him now? But as much as we said it, and on the lighter note, that is what the statistics is saying. But let us know your top story. 070010211021. You can call us and you can send us a message 0907-224-5018. A brief read on this headline: World Bank, Nigeria's economic growth insufficient to reduce extreme poverty. The first writer says incoming administration faces many policy challenges. The next one calls for income support measures in fight against inflation. income support measures. The World Bank yesterday said that Nigeria's economic growth is insufficient to reduce the number of people living in extreme poverty in the country. The World Bank stated this in the April 2023 edition of Africa Pulse, titled Leveraging Resource Wealth During the Low Carbon Transition. Now, according to the World Bank, about 88.4 million Nigerians live in extreme poverty, while 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. I'm just giving this information. If I didn't have to, I really would not want to read this. It is not good for the mind. According to data from National Bureau of Statistics, this is what is the details are: 88.4 million people in extreme poverty, 133 million Nigerians in multi-dimensional levels of poverty. While projecting Nigeria's economic growth will weaken to 2.8% in 2023, rather the growth is going down from 3.3% in 2022. Sarah, I think I should stop here. But they were talking directly to the incoming administration. They kept stressing that they will face many policy challenges, including subdued crude oil production, high inflation, among others. Hearing this, really, if you hear this as an individual, that this is what is happening in that office, is it going to be really attractive to go there?
Well, I think it's possible to nip it in the bud. While it's not going to be a very easy process.
Okay.
But I think that if steps that are taken early, we can avert some things.
Okay.
We can be able to contain certain things before they blow out of proportion.
Okay.
I don't think we should wait for us to get to the point where we are helpless, in quotes, before seeking necessary measures to avert this, because the World Bank statistics is one that whenever I see a statistics from the World Bank, I always sit back and I'm like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
This is like a global body,
giving us these
details. So if at this point we need to channel our energy into making policies that would support income measures, which includes cash and food transfers to protect the most vulnerable from stubbornly high inflation, I think we should do that. I think we should try to cut costs, borrowing, importation, among some other things right now.
Looking at what the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry have asked the government to do to re-strategize on revenue generation. Talking about revenue generation, if we get deeper into this, sometimes it feels like there is really not much we can do. But if we want to sell Nigeria to, like brand Nigeria as a product that the world should buy, as people that the world should buy from, are we doing great with the kind of stories we make on social media, in the news? Because re-strategizing on revenue generation simply means finding other ways for people to come buy what you sell. And just recently, I read that we were importing palm oil from different countries, including Malaysia, that came here to come and get the knowledge, come and get the produce, and now we are importing from them. So also the corruption that is linked to importing, are we ready to fight it? Are we ready to fight it? Because I feel like if we cannot just deal with maybe petrol, refining petrol, maybe just solve that problem, just maybe, and reduce our importation of crude after it has been refined, maybe it can reduce. I'm using a lot of maybes now. Let me stop. Maybe it will reduce. It will reduce, the impact of what is going on.
Well, there's a possibility for that to happen. But still, in connection to that, there's this statement from the DMO, which is the Debt Management Office, talking about why the federal government debt is rising. Okay. And they've come out to say they've attributed Nigeria's growing debt stock to budget deficits, which is a conversation that we're not really paying attention to. Okay. Budget deficits, continuous issuance of promissory notes, and other borrowings as well as low revenue generation. Now, talking about revenue generation, internally the IGRs we're not paying attention to those areas, and these are the things that are contributing to our debts. Now, last week, the Debt Management Office said that the country's debt stock had risen to over 46 trillion naira, increasing by over 6 trillion naira in 2022 alone.
Just a year difference.
Yes, and now our debt stock is over 46 trillion naira. And, you know, according to the DG of the DMO, in person of Patience Oniha, went on to note that Nigeria had been running budget deficit for several decades. She also added that several loans had been contracted multilaterally and bilaterally, while the federal government kept issuing promissory notes to settle obligations for which it didn't really have the revenue. This is coming from the DG of the Debt Management Office. Now,
Sarah, I'm still looking at that particular headline, and one phrase that is shocking. It's not entirely shocking, but that is worrisome. Is saying as we borrow each year, it adds up.
So she also said something. The DG of DMO said something. She said borrowing is an acceptable form to fund government activities, but this should be supported by revenues generated. So it's not that you just be borrowing without having a means of generating revenue that can offset these loans. But now, as it stands, we are borrowing without having revenues generated to offset this. So it is compiling and putting us, it's one of the things that has contributed to the economic state of Nigeria.
We should talk to a financial expert on this, because I've heard one say that if we borrow to fix things, if we borrow for our infrastructure, it's not a problem. But borrowing to pay the government, borrowing to feed, borrowing to consume is what is killing us. But it's been a long conversation on the newspaper review this morning, and I want to make a special shout out to everyone listening to us. It's beautiful to know that, you know, the participation is beautiful, the participation out there. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for those who tried reaching us. Thank you for everyone who tried, you know, calling and we couldn't pick up, or there's a network issue. We appreciate the efforts. But we'll be back here tomorrow. We'll be back at 7:05 a.m. on Newspaper Review. On Record this morning is also coming up at 9 a.m. You want to stay tuned for that. Till I see you next time, I'm Esther Kalu.
And remember to follow us across our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM and News Around the Globe _ Remember to stay safe and have a fantastic Wednesday till Thursday. Till I see you tomorrow, I am Sarah Osanta. Bye-bye.
Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:05 a.m. to 8 a.m. for freshly baked stories on the Newspaper Review at High Impact 102.